I call James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to take a short call on the Overseas Investment Owning Our Own Rural Land Amendment Bill. The timing of this bill and the debate on this bill is really unfortunate given the controversy over the last 2 weeks about the purchasing of New Zealand's housing stock by people from overseas. We've always said, since the controversy broke, that the issue is not one of ethnicity. It is one of property speculation. And so it is unfortunate that, given that the controversy over the last couple of weeks has been primarily directed around ethnicity, that is leaking into this debate as well, because otherwise this seems like a fairly sensible bill in our view. So Brett Hudson, I'd just like to say, in the previous speech, mentioned the OECD, and it's good to hear him quoting the OECD, which is an organisation that the National Party dismisses every time we hear a report from the OECD on climate change. So now that he's imbued it with a sense of some usefulness, that actually it would be great to hear him get and endorse the OECD's reports on climate change, which rate New Zealand's performance extremely badly. So in terms of why we're supporting this bill, it's largely for reasons that previous speakers have said on the Labour Party side, that we're in a particularly unusual set of economic circumstances globally at the moment. Other countries around the world have engaged in successive bouts of quantitative easing, which we did not. And so there is a great deal of essentially extra money floating around in the investment markets. There are historically low interest rates in most of our major trading partners, interest rates that are even lower than our own, making capital even more available, meaning that globally, the global investment markets are awash with capital and looking for a safe haven. And we are providing those markets with a safe haven for that capital, because we have, we have no capital gains tax to speak of. New Zealand is a very easy place for that money to go and inflate those prices, which is why it is so hard for New Zealanders to buy into farms in New Zealand, because we are like a goldfish swimming alongside a whale in terms of the availability of capital in this country to maintain our own ownership of our own land. So I noticed that the national speakers have protested greatly at this, but I would like to point out, as previous speakers have done, that this government came to power on a promise that New Zealanders would not be tenants in their own land, and yet that is precisely what has happened in the face of zero action by this government to either collect useful information or to place any sensible restrictions on the ownership of foreign land, such as is present in virtually all of our major trading partners. So if it's good enough for them, we believe it's good enough for us. The Green Party, our policy is actually to not to have sales of New Zealand land to non-resident, non-citizens, because, as they say, as Mark Twain once said, buy land. They're not making any more of it. It is the one thing that we have that is special to our to our own country, and we should attempt to retain ownership of it in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call